Today, I'll be introducing the novel Our Twisted Hero by Lee Mun-yeol from South Korea. This novel gained a significant popularity and was even adapted into a film. It tells the story of the main character, Han Byung-tae, and his experiences after moving from Seoul, the capital of Korea, to the countryside. Through the lens of a small classroom, the novel offers a critique of society. Our Twisted Hero by Lee Mun-yeol. Let's draw it now. Han Byung-tae, a 5th grader in elementary school, around 10 years old, moved from Seoul to the countryside. Because his father, a government officer, had been demoted and transferred. Byung-tae felt awkward about many things, like the old facilities and the teachers' untidy attire, which were different from his school in Seoul. But the most difficult thing for Byung-tae to adapt was the presence of Seok-dae, the class leader. Seok-dae was a student who looked about 2 years older than the other students. He was tall and had already gone through puberty. He managed the student as if he were their teacher. He would punish those who misbehaved and assigned cleaning duties. The homeroom teacher and the students accepted his behavior as completely normal. Han Byung-tae felt a sense of rebellion against the incomprehensible power of Seok-dae. He thought that after taking the exam and proving himself as a model student, he would gain the recognition of the teacher and his classmates. But he was disappointed when the results came out. Seok-dae was the top student in the entire school. Byung-tae changed his plan. He decided to expose Seok-dae's faults, particularly how he used his power to bully the other student and report it to the teacher. However, strictly speaking, Seok-dae didn't actually bully the other students. The students voluntarily offered Seok-dae food and other items because they did so willingly. One day, a classmate named Yoon Byung-jo secretly brought his father's lighter to school and showed it off to his friends. Seeing that Seok-dae liked it, he took the lighter from Byung-jo. Byung-tae reported to the homeroom teacher that Seok-dae had taken Byung-jo's lighter, but by the time the teacher arrived, Seok-dae had already returned the lighter to Byung-jo. He was already aware of the situation before Byung-tae went to the homeroom teacher. The homeroom teacher handed out papers to the students, asking them to write down any wrongdoings by Seok-dae. However, what the students submitted were exaggerated stories about bad things Byung-tae had supposedly done. The cost of challenging Seok-dae's power was significant. Students started to ostracize Byung-tae because he had fallen out of Seok-dae's favor and began reporting Byung-tae's faults to Seok-dae. Each time this happened, Seok-dae would punish Byung-tae and treat him more harshly than anyone else. Byung-tae couldn't adapt to school life. His grades started to drop, and he became increasingly withdrawn. One day, during cleaning time, Byung-tae was assigned to clean the windows. He worked hard to get approval from Seok-dae, but as usual, Seok-dae didn't give it. Byung-tae kept cleaning the spots Seok-dae pointed out, eventually breaking into tears. He was overwhelmed by a sense of helplessness and sadness. Seok-dae then approached and finally gave his approval. Byung-tae even felt that Seok-dae's words were merciful. The next day, Byung-tae offered his favorite mechanical pencil to Seok-dae and gained his favor. The reward for Byung-tae's surrender to Seok-dae was sweet. Students noticed the change in atmosphere, so they stopped falsely accusing Byung-tae, and Byung-tae gradually recovered his grades. Seok-dae treated Byung-tae better than the other students. Unlike when other students gave him things, Seok-dae wouldn't accept anything from Byung-tae. Even on the rare occasions when he did, he would return something twice as valuable. The only thing Byung-tae did for Seok-dae was to draw pictures for him during art class. Byung-tae gradually adapted to the class environment that Seok-dae had created. It was the day of the exam. Byung-tae accidentally saw his friend Park Won-ha erasing his own name on the math exam paper and writing Seok-dae's name instead. After the exam, Byung-tae asked Won-ha what he was doing. Won-ha casually replied that it was his turn to handle the math. He also mentioned that Hwang Young-soo likely handled Korean, explaining that Seok-dae only studied for about 2 subjects and took those exams himself, while other students took the rest of the exams for him. They would give their scores to Seok-dae and take his scores in return. Won-ha mentioned that Byung-tae had also done Seok-dae's drawings for him, and he didn't see any difference, acting as if it was no big deal. Byung-tae, confronted with the magnitude of Seok-dae's misconduct, was conflicted about whether he should report it to the homeroom teacher. However, considering the consequences of standing up to Seok-dae and the benefits he was currently enjoying, Byung-tae decided to keep things the way they were. The world of Seok-dae, which seems eternal, suddenly crumbled due to an unexpected source. When Byung-tae entered the 6th grade, he found himself in the same class as Seok-dae and met a young homeroom teacher who had recently graduated from a teacher's college. The homeroom teacher was shocked by the results of the class leader election. Out of 61 votes, 59 were for Seok-dae. Finding this unbelievable, the teacher called for a revolt, but once again, Seok-dae won with 51 votes. In the end, the teacher accepted Seok-dae as a class leader, but began to suspect him. As the students realized that the teacher was not on Seok-dae's side, they slowly started to distance themselves from his grip on power. After the first exam result came out in the 6th grade, in a cold voice, the homeroom teacher said that Seok-dae's average score was 98 out of 100, making him the top student, but all the other students ranked outside the top 10. He remarked that this mystery needed to be solved. He called Seok-dae and hit him until the thick cane broke. When Seok-dae collapsed with a groan, the teacher showed him the exam paper, as if he had been waiting for this moment. The exam paper had visible traces had been written and erased. Seok-dae admitted his wrongdoing to the teacher. The students were in shock. Seok-dae, who had always been strongly supported by teacher and seemed unbeatable, was not only punished but also admitted his wrongdoing and surrendered to the teacher. The sight of Seok-dae being punished made him, who always seemed so much like an adult, look like just a boy. The teacher called 6th student, who took exam instead of Seok-dae. He also hit the students, expressing his disappointment that they didn't stand up for themselves when their share was taken and remained silent in the face of injustice. The teacher then asked the other students to speak up about the wrongs that Seok-dae had committed. He said it was time to change the class. One by one, the students began to speak up about Seok-dae's wrongdoings. At first, the students hesitated, but as they continued, their accusation became more intense, eventually escalating to insults directed at Seok-dae. Then it was Byung-tae's turn. However, Byung-tae claimed he didn't know much. The other students criticized him, but he defended himself by saying that he hadn't been at the school long enough to know everything. Actually, Byung-tae's answer was a mix of sincerity and stubbornness. He remembered how he had tried to expose Seok-dae's wrongdoings, but failed to find solid evidence. He also knew that the same student who were now eagerly accusing Seok-dae, had once been his loyal followers, doing everything they could to earn his favor. The teacher, after hearing all the students' stories, said it was fortunate that they had finally found their courage. He also reminded them that they shouldn't rely on others to fight for what is rightfully theirs. He held a re-election for class leader. While students were voting, Seok-dae stormed out of the classroom, shouting, "Good luck without me." The election continued without Seok-dae, and the student who had taken the exam for him received votes. Seok-dae didn't receive a single vote, and there were two invalid ballots. One seemed to be Byung-tae's, and the other Seok-dae's. Without Seok-dae, the classroom was in a constant state of chaos and inefficiency. Some students aspired to gain the power that Seok-dae once held, while others were overly focused on practicing democracy, leading to frequent changes in class leadership. However, the homeroom teacher allowed us to remain in chaos. After about a semester, the class eventually returned to normal. It wasn't until the students grew up that they understood the teacher's intention in letting the chaos continue. Byung-tae never saw Seok-dae again. After many years, when Byung-tae had become an adult, he went on vacation with his family and by chance saw Seok-dae being taken away by the police. Seok-dae didn't seem to recognize Byung-tae, and Byung-tae, upon seeing Seok-dae, tightly closed his eyes. The novel comes to the end. The narrator of the novel mentions that the events he experienced took place during the time when the Liberal Party was in power, up until the April 19 revolution in Korea. This allows readers to naturally connect the story to Korea's modern history. As such, it's also a great novel for understanding Korea's contemporary history. Not only do the events in the novel hold significant meaning, but the characters themselves are also rich with symbolism, making it a masterpiece. Thank you for watching this video. I'll come back other webs.